Podcast start. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome for the first time. I don't know why you decided to join in episode 4. That's really fucking weird, but
I mean,
anyway.
even joining in on episode 1, the audio is so bad that I don't see why you'd want to watch that episode. I mean,
it's not bad. It's just different.
It's
a taste thing.
Yeah, it's different. We don't have to like be rude to
like
this
music.
little child, this poor little podcast child. Just tell him it's different. There's nothing wrong with him.
But anyway, this is North American Scum, the podcast where we discuss our unimportant opinions on important and unimportant albums. This week is a very not unimportant album. It's the most roundabout way I could have said that. But
this is an album that was on a lot of people, including mine's year-end lists of 2019. It was my album of the year for that year. You could definitely say it's critically acclaimed, and especially depending on who you are, pretty divisive at points. I don't know how Matt feels about this, but I guess we're gonna find out eventually. Well, the album we're talking about today is IGOR by Tyler, the Creator.
Yep. I had not listened to this album even slightly until this week.
You had not listened to any... Well, okay.
Tyler, the Creator.
I showed you... You came over to my house once, and I had a Flower Boy playing on vinyl. I think we were doing something else, but it was in the background. And you thought it was nice. You weren't really paying attention, so to say that you knew what the hell was going on would be an overstatement.
Yeah, no, I don't remember anything about Flower Boy, but this album definitely, focusing on it, this album fucking sticked with me. My only experience with hip-hop has been Kanye's discography, and even then I, semi-skipped some, so I'm not the most experienced when it comes to hip-hop, but I still definitely really enjoyed this album.
Which is surprising, because, the way you talk about hip-hop when it comes to, like people, all on the Gorillaz records and then Kanye... It's it feels like you know about as much shit as I do. But apparently not.
I just appreciate it. Hip-hop's fucking fun.
Okay, well, hopefully...
It's great. I think... Here's a hill I'll die on. I think hip-hop is the most diverse music genre.
Wow, that's... What do you mean by
diverse? It's not my favorite.
Diverse in its own category? Like, there's so many diverse artists in hip-hop,
yeah.
Hip-hop is diverse compared to the other genres?
I think that there's so many different takes on hip-hop by artists in its genre.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a good argument, and I'd agree with that, especially with an album like this. And I hope I'm able to show you more and more different sounds of the hip-hop in the coming podcasts or episodes, because there's so much good music by so many good artists, so many literal stories to be told through hip-hop. Of course, the big one for me is this one. This is a big one for me. All the Kanye, or not Kanye. Yeah, Kanye too. Kendrick Lamar. Those are the big ones that to keep a focus on. But there's so many other ones, so many other artists. Joey Badass, smaller ones. That's just some I can think off the top of my head.
Joey Badass, the worst name for an artist ever. I'll die on that hill too.
Oh my god, I digress. IGOR.
Oh yeah, we were talking about an album. Okay, so
yeah,
just diving right into the first track, IGOR's theme. Yeah,
I love it.
It's very ear catching.
Definitely ear catching. A bit distorted. I was thrown off by it. It's what is it? It sounds like an industrial plant. I don't know why. The first thing my mind goes to is an industrial plant. But, yeah, I'm hooked immediately. In terms of, the lyrics, I wouldn't say it has... Well, I'm sure there's some connection to, what's coming up, but it feels like an introduction to, a play, a prelude or something.
Yeah.
Riding around town, they gonna feel this one. That's pretty much it. I have a feeling it's references, us, ourselves, driving around... You're going to feel this one. You're going to feel this album. Might be a bit
playing it in the car.
Yeah. Well, if you've heard Tyler's like old like Flower Boy, there's so many metaphors about like driving and cars and like riding around town. It's a big thing that he like insists. I even think he's like wrote a message before the release of this album. It's like listen to this album in a car alone driving
He
around.
said, "This is an album that you need to focus on."
Yeah.
Like whether that's walking or just sitting in your bed and bathing in it or driving around. And I feel like he's really successful on making people listen to this album because any album where the first thing you hear is you're gonna like have your focus taken away from you.
Yeah. I definitely was thrown aback by this album at first. Didn't like it at first.
Really?
Well, the story behind me in this album was that when it first came out, I listened to it and I was like, it's okay. And then slowly over like a couple months, I started hating on it. I did not like the sound of this album at first. I thought it was disjointed. I thought the whole thing, like the lyrics were just the lyrics and the vocal manipulation and even the production and the sound and a little bit of the mixing was all just, it felt like ugly. It felt disjointed. It didn't feel nice to listen to for me.
That's so weird.
I didn't enjoy it. I don't know why, but it wasn't until like a year later I heard like Earthquake because a lot of my friends were memeing about it, the Cardi verse, but we'll get to that. And I was listening to it and I was like, the piano is so beautiful on that song. Like the intro and then in the little interlude, it's so just delicate and beautiful. And I was like, let me take a chance on it again. And I listened to the whole thing and I read the lyrics and I listened to the production and everything about it. And I immediately fell in love. I told my friends, we're going to the store to pick this up on CD as soon as it comes out, because I have did a complete 180 on this record.
Yeah, it's honestly, this song is like a hip-hop album that I think, oh, Julian would like this. So it's weird to think that a year ago you were one of the people that really didn't.
Well, a year ago I was also kind of a different person. When did this come out? 2019, right?
May 1st, 2019, I think.
I exaggerate. I mean, like maybe like a couple, like not a couple months, but like it came out in like May, and I didn't fall in love with it until like August. It feels like a year. It feels like a long time, but it definitely took a while for me to get into this record.
It took me a week.
Took you a week. I mean, I feel like I had a different perspective. I was kind of a different person, but
one thing I really want to bring up. So, okay. I feel like a lot of people's opinions might be shifted by this first album because I don't know really what other Tyler songs sound like.
That's the weird thing with you, is because you've barely heard Flower Boy and you've heard this. Now, with Flower Boy, it's more of your standard hip-hop record. But this record has a little more experimentation, a little more, actually a lot more like soul music influence.
It's very soul-y.
Yeah, and compared to like his other records, it's the most, I'd say melodically sound. Like he has a lot of good riffs and good hooks. But you could say the same about Flower Boy, but that lush kind of beautiful piano sound, there's a sound that he has. If you hear this one and then you hear Flower Boy and then you even hear Wolf, you'd kind of be like, he's making his own sound. He definitely has his own sound. Mm-hmm. So the sound is there, but the themes, the vocals, especially the vocals, because he manipulates and sings very differently on this album. He roughly like barely sings on the other ones. He'll do it occasionally, but on this one he does it for a good majority of the record. He does still rap and he does still hip hop, but it's different.
And you get into those you know what? I was gonna say you get into themes he doesn't get into, but I actually don't know if he's talked about the themes that he talks about in this album.
Kinda like he. Not a full concept. Flower Boy isn't a concept album, and I think I re-listened to his discography up to this point, like this whole week, and the only one that really stuck with me is Flower Boy. think it's because this one when he went in this direction of a more lush sound, but the themes aren't consistent throughout each record. In terms of like what this like with this record, it's different. It's different enough. So, in your case, all you need to know is that he's never really talked about this, opened up this much. So
okay,
all right. Want to move on?
Sure. He opened up the album
Earthquake.
like he's opening up his heart.
Yes.
And when I was listening to this, and Igor's theme was quickly followed by my accidentally cued BYOB by System of a Down, I was very surprised.
What the fuck? I can't imagine that. I can't imagine going into that.
Right around town, we gon' feel this one.
Right around.
Da-da. Da-da-da. It was very... I had a bit of an aneurysm, and I had to re-listen to the album.
Oh my god.
But Earthquake...
I want to know
without the System of a Down interlude, Earthquake is a very good second song. It feels like the typical... I'm not like saying this in a bad way. It feels like the very... This is the single that you put after the intro. This is like one of the catchiest songs on the album.
Well, this wasn't a single. Well, this was it? I don't know. He didn't release any songs before this album came out. He just dropped it. He was like, this album's coming out this day. Here it is. It's like Kanye, but he actually keeps his promise. So
I mean, it makes sense with his philosophy on the album and how he wants it all to be listened to as a unit.
Yeah, but Earthquake is the one that became the most popular. It might as well have been the single of the album. It is one of my favorites on the album. I love because of that piano, and then the hook, and then Playboy Cardi's verse. I like I said, he sings very differently on this record. I didn't recognize his voice at first. Like, that's him singing, and I was very thrown off by that. But I kind of realized as this album goes on, like, he's playing a character in this story. He may be reflecting on things that he's been through and telling a narrative, but it's not, like, I believe it's a character in here in this record.
Really?
Yeah.
I always felt like it was pretty real.
It's real, but like he's portraying it through someone, and that's why I think it's not like it's not his normal voice. He's singing at like a higher pitch, nasally kind of like it's almost like a falsetto, but he's like holding back a little, I think, because he can sing, but it's he's putting on a show, is what I'm trying to say. Moving on to Playboy Cardi's verse.
Well, hold up, that's skipping a lot.
I know. Okay, yeah, I guess that's true.
I definitely have some. The Playboy Cardi verse is great, but I still want to talk about some stuff.
Okay.
This is the first song that really features the fucking sick, hella great, solely vocal harmonies in the background I love.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I love soul chords and soul singing.
I was like thinking in my back of my mind when I was listening, I was like, Matt's gonna love that. Matt's gonna love the vocal shit on this record.
No, I fucking love that. And I love puns. So the fact that a song called Earthquake repeats the word fault over and over again was making me extremely happy.
Oh my god. I actually didn't notice that. You caught that before I did.
It's so good.
That's funny. I love how, of course I already mentioned that piano, but the arpeggiating synth in the background too, which is used so many times on this album. The use of synths on this album and pads and piano with like hard, distorted kind of like weirdly mixed beats, it really creates its own like sound. It really is its own thing on this record.
Yep. That and the sub bass.
The sub bass too. Yeah, this appears throughout the entirety of the record.
Most of the record.
Well, yeah.
There's one song. You know what? This is jumping the gun. There's one song where I'm gonna talk about this a lot.
Okay.
Because it was a theme, like a compositional thing that was present through the entire album except for one song.
Okay.
And having those like light synths or piano on top of the sub bass, I really like his choice to do that through a lot of these songs because I feel like that's representing both the love on a surface level is kind of like those dancey, light, happy synths and pianos, but then the toxicity of the relationship that's going to be kind of dove into later on in the album could be represented by that darker sub bass.
There is
darker and heavier sub bass.
This is the first mention of like the love that's going on for the rest of the album, but it's like it's like the already in the first like sense like of this relationship, you get the sense that they're already fighting. Something's already going wrong. He's telling her don't leave. They're already in some sort of debacle with each other. Him, right? We don't hear the other person's side of the story. I don't think we do throughout the entire album, but it is talked about from his perspective. Now we can talk about Playboi Carti's verse, which in the liner notes of the album, which I have on CD, it says these lyrics cannot be translated. Like it says there's no we were not able to transcribe Playboi Carti's lyrics on this part.
That's funny.
And to this day, I still don't know what he's saying. I think it just fits perfectly into the song, though. Even if it's not, even if it doesn't go directly with the theme, which I don't know. I don't know the lyrics. I can't tell what they are, but let's assume they do. It's there for a reason. It's funny though. Yeah. Anything else for you?
I think I've got two things.
All right.
So I like the lyrical idea of comparing being in love with someone like an earthquake, because that's like explaining both of the power that being in love has, but also the destructive power that it has whenever it starts falling apart.
That's something that we can go into later with a boy's a gun, but I think it's like the same idea, but in a different context. But yeah, it's definitely a good metaphor for like it's already rocky. You can feel it in the lyrics. This is not going perfectly well right away.
And then during the outro, when Tyler's repeating I said don't leave, it's my fault, there's the backing vocal that says one time, two times, three times. And then the second the next song starts, four times.
Holy shit.
And I fucking love that. As soon as I think starts, you hear the backing vocal say 4.
Damn, I did not notice that. I honestly didn't.
Yep.
That's awesome. The other last thing I'm going to say about Earthquake is that, like, at the end...
That was such a good segue! Come on!
I know it was a good segue, but I thought about it when you were talking about the album. The fact that, like, his voice is cracking when he's, like, singing.
We'll find another editor. We're going to find another editor. I'm replacing you. And on to the next song. I think
what?
I think is the next song.
I think is the next song.
I think this is a terrible bit, and we should just start talking about the song.
Okay. Let's go.
As soon as it starts out, my initial thought was, "Holy shit, this is 808s and Heartbreaks," but it's good.
No. It's not 808s and Heartbreaks. It's Graduation. Do you not agree with me on this? It's totally Graduation. This song sounds like Stronger.
Okay, no, yeah, you're right.
Okay, good. I'm right. I am right. Anyway, you go on.
Well, I mean, I love the flow of this. I love the very Kanye flow he has at the start. Like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know what I'm showing. And I get bleach on my t-shirt, then I'ma feel like an asshole. Like...
there's a lot of Kanye influence on this album, too, which is funny that we've been talking about Kanye this whole time. Lyrics, they portray he's dependent on this character. It already kind of seems toxic from what he's describing already.
Yeah.
Yeah, he already the one thing I latch onto is he immediately mentions that he is the puppet. You are Jim Henson. Jim Henson is that. I think he's the Muppets guy.
Yes, and you just made fucking synapses fire in my brain for a connection.
Well, because he says it like directly. Jim Henson is the guy who does the Muppets, I think.
I made a connection for something later on through that.
Oh, okay.
Speaking about how it's talking about the toxic relationship, I like how it feels like it might either. It's not flipping the perspective because it still feels like it's from Tyler, but it's flipping the relationship. Because the first one, Tyler's trying to fix the relationship and talking about how like he's messing up, it's still from the Tyler's perspective, and he's just continuing that feeling of, you've got control over me, and I'm desperate to keep this relationship working.
He's more focused on the relationship. He's not. He mentions that, yeah, I'm the puppet, but he's not fully. I don't think he's fully aware of like how tied he is to it, because he's doubting the relationship. He's unsure of this love, but at the same time, he's still trying to keep it. So he's more focused on that, I think, rather than realizing what's better for him at this point.
Yeah.
So, which will be solved later. But I love the sound of this song. Of course, it sounds like Kanye.
I like how it's like it's got like the synthwave chords, and then the beat is almost like a jungle beat, and that's so sick. This was the first song that like I got really into. The first two I was like, okay, this is cool, but then once I think came back, I was like, okay, shit, this is fucking great. This is a good album.
I love the little intro. I think he says like "Take It to the Bridge," which is like a play on Justin Timberlake, and then he goes into this completely different bridge that sounds
the bridge fake out where you think it's gonna go like heavy and hard, and it just like takes all the bass out.
It's a sweet little. You're floating through. Kind of. It sounds like Thundercat a little.
I felt like I was watching a grandma dancing alone in a little house, doing a tiny little jig, the weakest possible bridge.
And then after, like, it cuts out right after the bridge, fall, and it just comes back into the rest of the song, and it ends like that. It's really good outro. Yeah, that's all I have to say about I Think.
You think?
I think. All right.
Okay.
Enough of this shit.
I think. The next quote-unquote song, which is just a quote.
It's 14 seconds.
14 seconds. Exactly what you run from, you end up chasing.
It's
I like how the quality of it sounds like my mic from the first episode. And it serves as foreshadowing. That's all that this track really does.
Yeah, basically. It reminds me of To Pimp a Butterfly, which does the same thing. There's a bunch of quotes throughout the entirety of the record that foreshadow either the next song or what's coming up in the next couple songs. It really is. It's there for foreshadowing. I think it's Jared Carmichael. He's a comedian. He did like an interview with Tyler on Flower Boy, like a long, like hour-long discussion about the album. So I think he's like really good friends with them. So yeah, that's all you really can say about it. Actually, there is one thing I do want to mention about it, is that on the CD version and the vinyl version, the physical copy versions of this album, instead of this song or instead of this snippet, there is a completely different, new, exclusive song that's added to the album. Yeah, it's completely, like, I forgot what it was called.
I feel ripped off.
No. I mean, I didn't really like it.
No, it's terrible. Don't worry.
No. I haven't listened to, like, the CD version in a while, because I've been listening to it on Spotify while I was reviewing it. And I figured, like, since this is the most, like, normal way people are going to get to this album, it's not worth talking about unless, like, we want to do, like, a little tiny segment on it, like, separately or something. I don't know how it fits well into the context. I didn't go into it. But just to mention that if you do get the CD copy or the vinyl copy, this is totally a thing. And you may or may not like it.
That's the review of the hidden track.
This is my review of the hidden track. It's not even a hidden track. Like, it's set in the track list. It's in the what do you call it? It's in the liner notes, I think. Whatever. Moving on.
Moving on, because before we run out of time, we need to go ahead and move on to the next song, Running Out of Time. So this song was when I started to realize how huge the trend was, and that this was probably going to happen for every song, where he had a either sub or synth bass just sitting under the piano or synth instrumental on top.
Yeah.
Because every song I've done it so far, and it really solidified in this one, like, okay, this is a thing.
This is sonic.
This is an actual thing that he's going to keep doing.
It is a texture.
It's the flavor of the album.
The flavor of the album tastes like IGOR. This is the first song. Well, no, it's been going on for like the first 3 songs. the character realizes like he has limited time to salvage this entire relationship, and that's this whole song. It's the first mention of a she, a her, this character, this other, like the first mention of someone else or who or what this someone else could be. But that's your first thought. But I actually think he's talking to his love interest, which a her is getting in the way of that.
Yep.
Which, if you do the math, he's not talking. I mean, it's not that important. But if he's doing the math, he's not talking about. Actually, it is very important because it goes into the theming.
Yeah, no, that's extremely important.
Yeah, that he's dating a guy, and he's telling the guy supposedly it's not explicitly mentioned, but he's saying, "Take off your mask, stop playing pretend." Like there's a secret that's straining this relationship, and what I think it is that the guy is a closeted homosexual.
Yeah, he's either gay or bi, and he's hiding it from himself and / or the people around him.
I that's more to think that I think he's hiding it from the other people around him, because Tyler obviously knows. He's telling him, "Let it go, so we can be together.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know." But he is still talking about a her, which I think he either was or is in another straight relationship, which which the other person believes that like this is what I need or something, or this is.
I gathered that it's Tyler, the guy that Tyler's with, is trying to hide that closet sexuality from people around him by making himself be in a relationship with a girl.
Yeah, but yeah, I get that is a good way to think of it, because later on,
not because he really wants to, but just because that's like him trying to protect himself and / or he like feels ashamed of it because of societal pressures.
Right, which is what I think happens. Tyler, I believe, is gay in real life.
That's what Flower Boy was about, right?
No, Flower. Well, I think he came out in that album, or if not, then
okay.
Because there's like a line that's like, "I've been kissing white boys since 2004." But you'd like Flower Boy.
That's such a good line.
You like IGOR, you'd like Flower Boy. It's more hip hop, so I think you'll enjoy it. But anyway, digress. So that's the whole. Like, I think for me, that's like the lyrical thing about this album. Sonically, that synth is back. The arpeggiated synth is back. I love the little beat drop in the middle of it, where it just goes into this like hard, almost distorted, not terribly distorted, but like just it's moving. It's a moving beat.
It's moving.
It's moving.
I think the my favorite thing about this song is how it flips Tyler becomes disillusioned with this relationship more and more through the album. Here is where he realizes it's not really his fault. In Earthquake, he says multiple times directly, it's his fault. We know that he thinks that it's his fault. But in Running Out of Time, he's starting to realize that the significant other, he needs to make a change. He needs to realize that what he's doing is damaging him and his relationship with Tyler.
Right. I actually didn't catch that. I just noticed that like my focus was on the mention of these two new possible characters in this situation. There's a lot of context clues in this. I'm using my 8th grade English knowledge to figure out how this album works.
Thanks, Miss Forrester. I would have never figured out IGOR without you.
I don't fucking remember my 8th grade or even 9th grade.
I may or may not have just came up with a random name that sounded like a teacher.
Let's just say.
So, this song may have my favorite single lyric in the album, where he's talking about, he says, "I found peace in drowning," where I get from that he's talking about he finally found his peace by just coming out and not trying to avoid his homosexuality anymore for fear of the social eye.
I would have thought that it was a line more about I found peace in drowning, as in drowning in this relationship that's crumbling. I've go back to the puppet line. That I mean, there's multiple ways you could look at it. Like that may be valid and mine may be valid, but either way, it's great. Fucking.
Well, that's the thing about lyrics. Both of our interpretations are valid. I take it more as him trying to convince the other guy, and then you take it as him talking about his experience with the relationship. I think both of those work.
He's realizing that he throughout the like first half of this album, he slowly he comes to his senses. At the beginning of the album, he's not aware, but as it goes on, he becomes more aware with like each track going on. At the end of the album, he is like himself. He knows what he's aware, which is to me a really real thing that people go through with during breakups. I'll talk about it later because something means a lot to me. So
we're so like fucking ready to jump on these last songs,
right? Because they're so there's
just a lot to take apart in this album.
That's what I was saying, telling Matt before. I was like, this is gonna be a long one, man. We're already 35 minutes in, and we're barely on track 4. So
yeah,
there's 12 tracks, I think, not 13. But moving on
to Magic Wand.
New Magic Wand. This is my favorite song on the record. I'm just gonna say it straight out.
Wow. Okay.
You can maybe be able to guess why.
Production?
Yeah. It's always
I couldn't even fucking... I'm literally opening Spotify right now so I can re-listen to the song, but before I even hear it, I'm like, oh, it's production.
Of course it's production. It's Julian. He loves that weird, good, fucking loud, distorted production.
Loud.
This song is distorted as fuck. That beginning is like... brrr, it sounds like a car. Or like a motorcycle. The beat drop at the very end especially. Or no, before that, it's building up slowly, and there's like more vocals, more distortion. There's a guy yelling in the background. There's Tyler singing. It's all piling on, and then it goes into this like slower bridge that has beautiful piano or beautiful roads. I can't tell, and then it just drops out completely into this like synth that's hitting one note. And you hear. My favorite part about this is you hear Tyler go, "Raw," like he's clearing out his throat or something, or if not clearing out his throat, he's just like frustrated. He's like, "Raw." It does that in the middle, and then it stops, and you hear his famous "Ayo." When you hear that, he's gonna start rapping. So then the beat drops.
And he goes fucking crazy.
He goes
I love it so much.
After this podcast, I'm gonna send you the Grammys performance of this song. You will love the fuck out of it. This is so you'll love it. But it goes hard. I love this song so much. Sonically, that's what I have to say about it.
So, the first thing I noticed about this fucking song, because I'm me and I love puns, the first verse, he makes 4 of the 5 lines in the first verse are dedicated to making picture puns. I saw a photo. You looked joyous. I needed to get her out the picture. She's really fucking up my frame. She's not developed like we are. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay. I just started endorphins.
A lot of serotonin, or endorphins.
This was the first song that really sounded dark, I feel like. I like that a lot.
Lyrically, this is maybe the first. Well, it is the first sign of darkness. He is getting very aggressive here.
He's pissed. Yeah, this is the only song with a death threat in it.
Right, and I think my immediate thing is like he's psycho. He is fucking psycho. But at the end of the day,
he could be your angel or your devil.
Shut up. At the end of the day, this is a relationship, right? And I know a lot of people's relationships and the way they're portrayed, and also like certain cases, it is life or death for some people. Like the anger, especially when the anger takes over. That's why there's so many like all the Lifetime movies are about relationships and murder. Like the only two things that appear in Lifetime movies. It's because that happens a lot. When you're in love, your brain goes haywire, and you're just like, I'm going to kill him. I am going to kill him, whether it's the lover or the cheating other guy,
Christ,
or both of them,
Julian.
which is in this case. It's true. That's
Julian,
watch a
not
Lifetime
every
movie.
single person on planet Earth is a yandere.
Okay, I know, but the general consensus on something like this, the feeling especially, I think, is it's pretty common. You know, no one most of the time, not many people act on it, and I don't know the way.
Julian, you're scaring me.
I'm not gonna kill anyone, Matt.
I promise I won't date anyone without your permission.
Holy shit. Anyway.
The song is just a tonal shift. It's a tonal shift to follow the lyrical shift. He's putting a line in the sand, dude. He's like, what am I willing to put up with today? Not this relationship.
Yeah.
He's finally telling... I feel like he isn't saying this directly to the person. I couldn't imagine Tyler actually saying this. It's more like he's just talking to himself. He's like, this shit is stupid. Fix this now or it's done.
Yeah. What do you think the magic wand is? Do you think it's literal? Do you think it's a reference to like the item in, what do you call it, in Photoshop? What do you think? Or do you not have anything for that?
The item in Photoshop? Or
yeah,
he's gonna left click on the girlfriend and just press delete.
Well, that's what I thought at first. It's called new magic wand, and he's using his magic wand to delete her out of the picture. He's in the frame. You have to assume that it might be the item in Photoshop. I don't know if he's confirmed this, but I think he might have mentioned that it wasn't true. But the other thing you could assume that, you know, he talks about murder is that it's a gun. It's an actual gun.
I just kind of took it as there's the disappearing act that magicians do. That's just kind of what I got.
Okay.
Less of a specific example. Just like, poof, she's fucking dead now.
I don't know. With the way he was talking about the picture and the what do you call it? There's a lot of ways you could...
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good point. Because he
saying.
starts out with picture puns.
Right. So that's what I'm thinking. He throws the photo in Photoshop, literally deletes it out of the picture. Or if it's... I mean, the way he's threatening, it could be like a fucking gun. It's my new magic wand. He mentions that it's like... He tells the person, I think, to choose, or he'll pick them both.
Yep.
So...
That was a cool fucking line.
Yeah.
It's also pretty scary.
Yeah, it's pretty threatening. This is the one song where you're either like, well, I don't know if it's black and white, but you could be like, I don't know if I'm rooting for this guy or not.
Yeah, this is the song that definitely makes you question if you're on his side. But then he'll probably pull you over later on. And getting towards that, we have to move our way through A Boy is a Gun asterisk.
Which is also why I put the gun metaphor, is because, like, I mean, you could compare the two. In this case, he's comparing, I think, the relationship to a gun.
These felt like the most two paired songs to me.
Yeah. In this case, I think he mentions, like, love is dangerous, in the sense that, like, a gun can protect you, but it could be also very dangerous emotionally, of course. I don't think this is a literal gun. At this point, I don't think it's a literal gun. But it's explained, in this case, it's explained kind of as the relationship itself. Love, if not the relationship.
It's like, he's talking about how he's becoming aware of how dangerous the relationship is to him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, because it's pretty relatively toxic.
Because the main thing that gets me is the line, "Boy, you're sweet as sugar, diabetic to the first degree."
To the first degree. That is so Kanye. That is such a Kanye. The song itself is a nice slowdown. Like right after it goes like in a calmer downward spiral here.
Yep.
Compared to up to a certain point, but it's a very nice slowdown. This is also, I think, where he realizes, like, he realizes, he's becoming more self-aware that they're no good for him.
This is exactly what he runs from.
Yeah.
This is the first part of the foreshadowing, I think, because he's finally finishing the relationship. He's putting the line in the sand. He's like, I'm done.
Oh,
That's
right before, the other thing the Carmichael mentions is right before New Magic Wand, he mentions before you close the door, you got to open a window. So
yeah,
in this song, he even though he's conflicted, he says he doesn't want any more. Like he knows at this point that this shouldn't be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what he goes on to with Puppet. But go into the sound of this song. I love the hook. If
with
I'm not
like
wrong,
the sample.
Yeah, the sample
of the little kid.
I don't think it's a little kid. If I'm not
really?
wrong, don't correct me. I think it's like the same sample that he uses on Bound 2, Kanye.
For Boy Is a Gun?
I'm like it's shifted, it's different, but it's the same recording or audio thing. I was reading up on the lyrics and I saw that somewhere, and I was like, that
That's
might
crazy.
be. Yeah, it's like a completely different sample or it's probably the same song that he's sampling, but it's a very different manipulation of it. Either way, it's only to make more Kanye references and connections to this album. There's so much of it.
There is a lot of it.
Record.
And before we move on to the most Kanye song, I want to say one last thing about this one.
Mm-hmm.
I like how New Magic Wand and A Boy Is a Gun, they kind of feel like they feel the most like they're both talking about the same idea to me. They feel like they're the closest together. It felt like it felt like New Magic Wand and Boy Is a Gun is both him talking to himself. And the first one is the start of the conversation, and then Boy Is a Gun is the end of the conversation where he's kind of settled and got all of his thoughts in the right place. And I feel like that's exemplified perfectly through the composition and the instrumentation. Because Boy Is a Gun... I also need to mention, this is my second favorite song on the album. Fucking love Boys Again. It's such a bright sound after one of the darkest sounds on the album.
Yeah.
From New Magic
This one has a little bit of joy still left in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or a little bit of light, like in the sound. I think it goes darker. For me, it goes darker with Puppet. But
oh yeah.
It sounds melancholy. There's a lot of melancholy in this record, a lot of bittersweetness, but yeah, that's all I have to say about Boys Again.
Yep, I think it's time to go on to Puppet, the most Kanye
piano
song in the album, because it has Kanye in it. Honestly, I feel like this song doesn't. It doesn't sound like the most Kanye song in the album, but it is the one with Kanye on it.
So I mean, to be fair, this whole album sounds like it could be from Kanye, like something that.
It feels like this could have been another Kids See Ghosts where Kanye collaborated with someone.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he had much say on the production, but definitely inspiration for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, absolutely.
At this point, Tyler's very aware. I think he's able to realize he mentions the puppet metaphor again, but he says it like he knows, like that's all he's focused on. This is when he is taking some power back for himself.
Really? I got the exact opposite. I got that this was after he had put the effort in to try and escape, it kind of Stockholm Syndrome bounced back all the way, and he fell like almost even more in love with this person uncontrollably. And then at the end of the song, then he gains control, but only at the end. During like the first like 7/8 of this song, it feels like he's just completely lost all control over his feelings towards the relationship, and he feels like he's just a puppet being controlled by the person he's with. Okay,
but either way, at the end, you're saying that he eventually does gain back control, because Carmichael mentions coming to your senses.
Yeah. So, only at the end, though.
Okay, then, yeah. So at least we agree on that like at this point that this is what's kind of happening. I love how sad this song is, like how sad and melancholy the sound sounds. It's almost lo-fi in a sense. This whole album is kind of lo-fi a little.
I mean, a lot of them use that like I don't know, the gramophone static almost that's in the background.
I think it perfectly represents like that that feeling of being in a relationship and like the tough, that time that you
being in a toxic relationship.
There's that lull that you feel after you've argued with someone and they just go and you can't say anything because you just stopped talking to them and they don't want to talk to you for a while. So you're left with your own thoughts until you talk to them next time. There have been a lot of times I've felt that. That's how the song kind of sounds to me.
I do like, this is a very small thing. This is like my second favorite line in the whole album.
Okay.
In verse 1, he says, land at your driveway and put it in park, then do the third line of this verse. And I've never heard any artist literally give you instructions to go back and reread the fucking verse to figure out what that line was supposed to be.
Oh, I actually didn't.
That was endlessly entertaining to me. I was laughing at that for a long time.
Cool. Repeating on it.
It's really creative.
It is. There's a lot of there is self-awareness in this record, like meta-ness a little, but
like how in the official lyrics to this, it says in all capital letters, Kanye lyrics cannot be transcribed.
Does it actually say Kanye lyrics?
It says Kanye lyrics cannot be transcribed.
So both Kanye and Cardi's lyrics can't be transcribed?
Correct.
What the fuck? I didn't notice the Kanye one. I noticed the Playboy Cardi.
I'm pretty sure.
That's funny. Either way, I mean, you could kind of tell what he's saying.
Yeah, Kanye lyrics cannot. That's so funny to me. But it feels a lot sadder. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's starting to slow down. And what I love, this has my favorite outro to any song on the album, because things do physically start to slow down, and then you get that almost what sounds like an ambulance synth that pokes in out of nowhere to force you to realize that the song is falling apart. And to me, that sonically represents his disillusionment with being in love with this person.
Yeah.
Once the song starts to fall apart, his love is falling apart.
His love is, oh my god, there's so much.
That's what made me think that he only realized at the very end of it, because sonically the idea is collapsing under itself.
Yeah, there's so much to take apart in this. Of course, it goes into the coming to your senses part right after, and then what's good starts.
What's good?
What's good?
This song is good.
This song.
That's what's good.
This reminds me of if you've heard I Ain't Got Time. You know you haven't, but
by whom?
On Flower Boy. On Flower Boy.
Oh no.
At least like the intro does. I love the aggressive beat. This is the first like 4 lines. This is the first mention in the entirety of the album of IGOR.
Yep.
So, I've had a little trouble deciphering this song. I'm wondering what you've figured out.
Let me look what I wrote. Oh, so, man, this is long. This song, to me, I felt it. So I've had one toxic relationship, and I felt the feeling I thought he was feeling pretty directly. It, to me, felt like it was displaying the kind of freedom and feeling of power you get from ending a toxic relationship initially. But then once he gets to the last line, that's the feeling that you get afterwards once you reach the introspective questioning phase of like, am I really better off outside of this relationship? Cutting it off was good. I feel strong. I feel powerful. I feel like I'm mentally and emotionally in control. But now that I'm thinking about it, what if I was better off with that person? And that's just a thought that I assume a lot of people have when they get out of a toxic relationship, because I had it, and it looks like Tyler had that.
That's a real thing, because you would have expected What's Good to be like the finale if that was the case, if it wasn't the case from that, because it would have been like, he's free, he's going around fucking mentioning Dracula, and he's having a great time, but he's not at the end of the day. It doesn't just happen in one day. The cool down and you're moving on from the relationship, whether that's like moving on because you broke up or moving on because you've been broken up with, it takes quite a while, from a lot of people's perspective, especially mine. Yeah, no, this I love that it kind of just goes back. He's like dragged back into this continuing like the next 3 songs.
One thing about, well, actually, okay, I've only got one thing to say about what's good, like else, other than like, this is the heaviest song on the album, sound wise.
The beat goes the hardest on this one. I love that little. Once again, almost like a fuck. What was it called? Magic New Wand. It goes into this bridge that's like completely like it's a singled out synth. In this case, it's like very distorted, playing like a little melody, and then it like drops back into this hard beat. Once again with the Dracula. I love the way I love that first like set of bars, because I love the way his pronunciation of all that. And then I can't enunciate. Ha 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 ha. The fucking Dracula metaphor.
So, is there anything else you got to say about it? Because I've only got one closing thing once you're done.
Not really. But, well, actually, yeah, I do. Well, what is this IGOR? I think it's like a freedom. Or maybe. Yeah, What's and who is IGOR?
IGOR? I think IGOR was Dr. Frankenstein's helper. And he
not
was
no. Yeah, not literally. I know that. But, like, in context.
I took IGOR as being. So Dr. Frankenstein's helper was just always represented as this ugly, disgusting, super gross dude, and I feel like that's how he sees himself. In the album, he feels there's just a lot of self-hatred, or at least he feels like that's how he felt like at the start. I don't know if he feels like that now.
Is it throughout the entire thing? Well, why does he mention barely that I am IGOR now? Maybe it's because he's embraced it.
Maybe.
He's been doing quite ugly things throughout the entirety of this record, or like having ugly thoughts and saying like the gun thing, not Boys and Gun, and New Magic Wand. So maybe that's all I kind of thought about this. I've kind of had that. That's why I was a little confused. I'm like, why now mention IGOR? Why not mention it at the beginning? Maybe it's because he wasn't aware of it. Like I said, he's becoming aware throughout the entire record. So.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Well, I've got the one last thing to say about this. So, with Slow Tie's verse, apparently, that was supposed to. So in the Spotify version, we don't hear the. I forget what it was. A documentary. Yeah, there you go. It was a sample from a documentary that got removed from the song due to copyright. And that makes me so mad.
I wonder
it got fucked by copyright, and that hurts it. It's like it just takes away from it because copyright laws are nothing but fucking stupidity.
I wonder if that's why, because the physical version of this album took way longer to come out. Like if the album came out in May, it didn't come out till like in like August or September or even like July. I wonder if that's why it took so long, and I want to know if that is in the CD version. I'll have to check that out on my own. You'd have to point it out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Anyway, that's the only other thing I have to mention.
Okay. Next song, Gone, and / or Thank You. I Am a Simple Man. I see CeeLo Green being featured, and I am going to enjoy the track.
Did you enjoy the track?
This is my favorite track on the album.
Okay. Perfect. This is the one where he reflects on his relationship, and like most people who grow from a relationship farther, this is what I hope at least, is that they learn to appreciate that they had the time and the experience of the entire thing. This whole song is so bittersweet, and the way he like sings about it, he's hurt, but he's willing to move on.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is my love is gone. This is sad. This is very sad, but I'm happy. I am fine. I appreciate everything that has happened. I'm going to move on and do more things.
I do like... Oh, no, go on.
I think at this point, if you don't know like the track list, you would have thought like this is a relatively happy ending. This is the end. What's good, gone, and I don't love you anymore, and Are We Still Friends all would have been pretty decent endings to the album, I think.
Yeah.
Like they're it's kind of like how the album started. We're thrown into this relationship. There's no points where the story starts. It's just this is what's happening. So I think it would have been fine to end it on this is what's happening at the end.
But
in this point, of course,
I like the fact that it doesn't.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying it could have.
It could have, but the fact that it doesn't feels more real because ending a toxic relationship, it doesn't just end.
Yeah, right. I mentioned it earlier. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah, it lingers.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes sure to make that a point where it just lingers. You think it's ended, and it's still going.
Mm-hmm.
You might think it's gone, but that sub bass from the early songs is still in this song, so the scars haven't healed yet.
Yeah. This is the sound of this song is very, very happy. It's like
it's like super. If you just heard the composition and the instrumentation, it would just feel like a pretty happy song. But once you get the lyrics, it feels more melancholy and
bittersweet.
Bittersweet, yeah, bittersweet.
Mm-hmm. Almost makes me like emotional.
Oh yeah, this song got to me the most. One of these last three songs got to me the most emotionally.
Yeah,
I think the third verse in this song is the best verse in the entire album to me. It feels like he sums up the entire relationship in one verse, and it's so impressive to me.
I forgot what the verse is.
He's talking about how, like, they were with each other. The girl showed up. The guy was with the girl, and then he spent so much energy on him and was so infatuated with him. He sums up everything that's happened.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, then that's a good ending verse. Good ending if it wasn't for the next two songs. Moving on to I Don't Love You Anymore.
Yeah, I do want to say definitely anyone read that third verse because there's so many great plays on words. There's so many great mentions of stuff that's happened earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that verse is so impressive to me.
Oh my goodness, it's fuck. Now I'm thinking about the rest of the album and just like how everything is connected up to this point because it is so solid. There is not a dull moment, not a dull theme. It's all connected. This is a concept record for sure. I Don't Love You Anymore. Least favorite song on the record, hands down. The sound.
What?
The sound. The only thing that I don't know, like, this is the one that and the little hook. I don't know why. I just don't like that hook. I don't love you anymore.
This is my favorite hook in the album.
This is my least favorite hook in the album.
I love the I don't love you anymore.
I don't. But to say that doesn't mean it's a bad song. It's in context and lyrically, it's still great. It's just my least.
I love how awkward he sounds in the first verse because this feels like this is one of the times that he's directly speaking to the person that he's with.
Yeah.
He has so many ums and uhs and so's in the first verse. You can tell that he feels really awkward talking to the person and nervous, probably nervous more than awkward, talking to the person because they've had these experiences together and now he's having to cut them off for the better of both of them.
Even it's in this one, it kind of to me like even though it seems like he's moving on, he's saying that he doesn't love her anymore. But is he saying it because he really feels that way, or because he's just telling himself a lie to like move on? It's like a doubt, like he's doubting himself, and I think it's reflected in the next song too. Hey guys, we're back.
I'm back from the unintended vacuum and dogs losing their shit intermission.
Yeah, and me getting some water because water's nice.
Yep. and we were talking about I don't love you anymore. The same feelings I am currently feeling towards my dogs.
No.
So
I forgot where we left off. I was mentioning that he's lying to himself that he's moving on, I think, at least.
Yeah. Well, so he's telling himself he doesn't love the person anymore, not necessarily because he truly the feeling of love that he lacks that bond in his brain anymore. Like, not that isn't gone, but he's saying that to attempt to convince himself that to not, because he knows that the best thing is to not be in this relationship.
Right. He's trying to convince himself. He doesn't feel like he's not in love. He just is saying he is, and that's because if he keeps saying it, it'll become real, eventually. Right? It's a question mark. He's not. He's unsure. He's doubtful for sure in the song.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can move on.
Well, I do want to say something.
Okay.
Just for the last line, I think, where he's like, "But this just might be better for us, you know."
Yeah,
and then
it cuts off. It cuts off.
I always felt like him cutting off, that represented he still feels love towards the guy, and that just shows how difficult it is for him to actually say that he can't actually get through the sentence. He chokes on it.
Mm-hmm. It moves on to "Are We Still Friends?" The last song on the album.
Which is the only song with any punctuation in the title, which is something I noticed. I don't know if that has any significance, but
maybe. I don't know. Has Pharrell and Jack White on the guitar, which I appreciate.
I didn't know it was Jack White. Huh.
Yeah, he's very soulful, his guitar and sound to the song.
This is the only song with no synth or sub bass, and this song, as a result, to me, feels like this is where Tyler has moved on the most from the feeling, from the pain of the relationship.
I actually, I think it's like, at this point, there has been a consistent, like, phases of grief up to this point. And right now, I think this is the bargaining phase, actually. Because, if I'm trying to remember, let me search it up, but you go ahead and talk about it.
I think, for me, the sub bass being gone means that he's gotten rid of the direct toxicity from the relationship, because that was the one thing that, and we talked about the synths and piano. Those were the two things that were present in every single song up to now.
Yeah.
I talked about earlier how I felt like the synth and the piano kind of sonically represented the bass feelings of love, but then the sub bass was showing the darkness, the heaviness, and toxicity of the bad relationship that they were in. So to me, this feels like he's officially out of the relationship.
Yeah.
If they have any sort of relationship in the future, it's not going to be significant others. They're not going to be dating. He's drawn the line in the sand, and even if he will not allow himself to be with this person romantically or sexually, he still really has the desire to be friends. He repeats the line, "Are we still friends?" so much that it feels like that's the only thing his brain is allowing him to even process right now. That's the only thing that he has a desire for right now, is to continue being friends with this person, even if their relationship didn't go very well.
For me, even in my experience, is that trying to be friends with a past relationship, someone in a past relationship, for me, it doesn't work. For me, I don't think it'll ever work. This is for me. So when I read this song, to me, when he's trying to push back into it, the friends part, to me it sounds like bargaining, which when I pulled it up, he has, for the most part, throughout this entire record, have explained, like, he's expressed the grief cycle. Denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. which to me, in a real relationship, yes, it normally goes through those, or like a breakup, you go through those phases, but sometimes you loop back into it, depending on who you are, or you loop back into a certain part. He is doubting himself on, I don't love you anymore. So, with the context, I think he is bargaining in this song, which you could see it as a happy ending. Like, he does genuinely want to be friends and move on in a good way. But in my perspective, this is actually kind of a very sad ending, because he's still hooked onto it, and it's kind of, no, I wouldn't call it depressing, but to me it feels a bit melancholy. I mean, the sound of the song is kind of melancholy, wouldn't you say, too? So
I really like you saying that this could represent bargaining, because the one thing that I couldn't figure out with this track, I'm pretty sure you just made make sense to me.
Okay.
So this track, so let's take the album of him going through the stages of grief once he's like started to cut the relationship off.
Okay.
If he's at, there's what is it? Denial's
the first one. Don't leave. It's my fault. Well, that's kind of denial, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance.
So the thing about this song that I was never able to understand is this song at the end cuts off. No other song had really just like stopped. But this song, you have the like almost like strings going.
Yeah.
And before it entirely fades out, it's just gone. And I think that might be, you might be able to see that as him moving on to acceptance, because it's just like, there's the snap, there's the realization.
There's an album that's like this that I might recommend next time, because I've been re-listening to it. But I don't know if I want to go through another breakup album in the span of like 2 podcasts, because I may want to just, separate them apart. Different albums, different blah, blah, blah. Melodrama by Lorde has a similar ending, but I want to talk about that one when we get to it. I'll just mention that at least. Like that kind of just like the ending past, moving on, is cut off. You are left wondering what is left. Like where the person is left, kind of, in this part of the relationship. What's going to happen next for them is basically what I'm saying. You're wondering, because you don't know, because it doesn't tell you. But it does leave you with something to think that they're moving on, or they're not.
I don't know. Honestly, this album is sitting with me like heavier now that you pointed out the
This is
stages.
that's why I told you that you need to kind of, this is one of those albums that took a while for me to grow on me, but then once I really read into it, it even took a longer. This album's very personal to me, because I feel it's very realistic in its portrayal of those feelings that you get from the relationship, the breakup, the toxicity, the love part. Even Earthquake has a little bit of that. It's very bright, but it has a little bit of melancholy in it. All of it is really, it felt real to me. So when I listened to this album, I felt like stunned, kind of like stopped in my tracks. I'm like, well, that's totally how it feels. Especially with my past relationship. Like, this is not completely how it went down, but in a sense, the toxicity part of it and the breakup and moving on, that's how it felt with mine. So when I listen to this album and all these things he's going through are put into such detail in the feelings and the way he goes through those feelings in this order, if not, I'm like, yeah, I've moved on and I don't love her anymore. Maybe. And then I bargain to possibly still salvage some relationship part of it. But at the end, for me, I felt that there's no point to it. And I just moved on. So, depending on who you are, this is definitely an album that, whether you've been through a relationship or not, will define whether you like it or not. And then also, whether you relate to it too much or not. But also, even if you haven't been through one, the story that's being told here is very real, and it's portrayed very realistically and well throughout the entire thing. There's a good narrative here, even if you haven't been through a breakup or a relationship.
Yeah.
So if you want to delve into it to see what this kind of feeling is like and what it looks like, this is a very good record to start with, which I think is why I love this record so much and why it's, praised so much.
I do want to say that this is only talking about really toxic relationships that take a while to get cut off, though. Because I've had the first relationship I had was where the toxicity got cut off really quickly, and then I've had one where it wasn't really toxic, but that one also took a while to cut off. Oh, that one did take a while to cut off. So if this is not an album that can relate very well to like
all
relationships this doesn't talk about all relationships. This is purely about relationships that are toxic and take a lot of energy to break off. But it portrays them perfectly.
But I do feel that a lot of people do go through this sort of thing.
Yeah, a lot of people have experience with this.
In some way, shape, or form. Whether that's the young, a lot of first relationships.
You could also, if you know someone who has gone through a really toxic relationship, then this is a way to give more insight into that person. But always keep in mind that everyone's experience is different. This is just how Tyler's was. But I say that this is a pretty good representation of a lot of them.
Yeah. Especially, I do love, you mentioned earlier, I'm going back to the sound of it. It's very smooth, very jazzy, very soulful. It's almost cathartic in a way, the way it sounds, but also melancholy.
Yeah.
Sad, bittersweet. So what bittersweet like Gone, your interpretation's up to like the rest of what you've been through or the way you want to interpret it. It's left you on a different note. And
this is an album that definitely leaves you in silence for a little bit. It's an album that draws thoughts and experiences out of you that you wouldn't have probably thought of just kind of sitting there without anything to provoke it.
Right. The funny thing is that, the first time I listened to this album was probably a bad place to listen to it. I was opening up a restaurant in the morning when I was listening to it, and I got to the end of the song.
Well,
and
now
I
know why you don't like it.
That's why I didn't like it at first. But no, at the end of this, I felt just everything. I was just like, damn, fuck, I relate to this so much, and it works so well. The way he goes through everything, he combs through everything, it is done perfectly. And it's unique to boot. The sound of the album's unique, and it's just executed perfectly.
On to... Well, you know what? I was going to say final thoughts, but we kind of just... That was the smoothest final thoughts we've ever done.
Yeah.
It just blossomed by itself. So I guess we go to the meaningless, unimportant ranking that means nothing in any sort of way, shape, or form, but we do it because it's fun.
Yeah. For this album, for me, it's a 9 out of 10 easily.
This album... Okay, what are all the albums that we've done so far?
Technically, I've rated 3 9 out of 10s in the 4 albums that we've done.
Yeah, I'm thinking... Because we've had Together Through Time.
Which I gave a 7.
Yeah, that one was a 7. We both did a 7 for that. There was the first one was Demon Days. Then we had... Postal Service. Then it was Together Through Time. And now this is IGOR. And...
all very different albums.
I'm trying to... Because my brain is really latching onto a 10 out of 10 right now. Whoa. Because I did not have there was not a single thing in this album that felt even slightly wrong in any way, shape, or form. Except for maybe Cardi B and Kanye's verses.
I wouldn't say they're wrong, but they're... They
kind of felt a little bit out of place to me, slightly.
Okay.
This is like a 9.8. 2 decimals gone for their verses, for their features.
Yeah, so I guess to mention...
And that rounds up to a 10. So, you know what? This is the first 10.
This is 4 episodes in. You're already at your first 10. What the fuck?
I like music.
No, I love music. It's my passion. It's my favorite thing. But whoa, holy shit. Because
I mean, my only 10s are probably going to be like this, the fucking Mother's album, and then Nicosaur.
Oh my god.
I don't think the Mother's album is going to be a 10.
I don't think so either. But either way, no, because for me, my 10s hold a lot. They hold a lot more. Like as good of a concept and as well done as Igor's concept is, there is, I believe, in my eyes, that there is a bar past that. That there is for like story wise, I've heard slightly, probably actually a little more than slightly better. Which is good. Why, having hindsight and having experience of other albums around you will shape your scores. Besides, this is just for fun. But
yeah,
there are other albums I have that I hold at a 10 out of 10 that are different. So okay, what's your album, Matt? What am I going to suffer through next?
This is going to kind of solidify what the one is going to be after it too. So I'm torn between 2 right now, cuz if I do the one that I kind of want to do, then it'll be illegal for you to choose any other album except for its like brother album. But then I'm also thinking about just doing Late Reg by Kanye, cuz to do another hip hop album. So if I do Pinkerton,
oh my god,
it's impossible to not do the Blue album
Blue
after
album.
it. So more hip hop or be forced to do alt rock?
I wouldn't say forced is the bad thing either, but
it's not. You know what? Next episode?
Oh god.
Pinkerton by Weezer.
We're doing Pinkerton. This is gonna be a debate.
You sound so unenthusiastic.
Well, because I was fine.
No.
Pinkerton. No, you want to know why I'm enthusiastic about this? Is because what? I just remember. Well, Pinkerton's a good album, but I just remembered that me and you, for the past I don't know how long, have had the ongoing debate. Which is better, Blue or Pinkerton?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
And we're about to settle it in the fucking ring at SummerSlam 2020.
Hang on, we have 2 podcasts to do this. So, Jesus. All right, I'll get to listening to Pinkerton. Y'all should too. God.